Hi, I'm Jo Martin from One of Many, and I just want to talk to you woman to woman for a minute. Because frankly, I don't know about you, but if you look around out there, it does still feel like a bit of a man's world. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, sure, heaps has changed since my mum was my age or my grandmother was my age. There does seem to be a lot more opportunity for women, no doubt about it. At least we see awareness around things like the gender pay gap. We see a huge calling for more women on boards and in senior leadership positions. It feels like, yes, there's a burgeoning opportunity. But when push comes to shove, if you lift underneath the surface, if you start looking at the unconscious bias that exists inside the professional world, inside, not even the professional world, the home, the family home, your average family home, the culture as it is out there on the school run, you look out there and you can see that it is still very much a world which is geared around masculine principles. Now, what I mean by that, and I think that's a better way of describing it than it's a man's world, because that for me sounds a bit blamey, like it's the man's fault that we're in this situation and that men are bad. Please don't hear me saying that. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, quite frankly, I love men. They're awesome. So it's if we look at this more from a partnership perspective, we do have to look at the fact that most of the ways that we measure our success in our society are by principles and values which are traditionally linked to masculinity. What do I mean by that? So if we look at paradigms here for a second, and I think we do need to think about this as paradigm shifting kind of stuff. So we live a lot in what I would call the masculine paradigm. Here in the UK where I live, or Australia where I grew up, according to some research by a gentleman by the name of Hofstadter that was done in 2001, you should check it out, we celebrate values which are traditionally associated with the masculine. Things like competition, individualism, so doing it all by yourself, aggression achievement, material success. Those are the sorts of things we celebrate in our country culture. And if you look then inside of the workplace, this is exactly the kind of stuff that we also see in the workplace. Most workplaces out there want us to achieve financial results at the cost of other things. And we celebrate individuals. We're not looking at other kinds of values, which actually is what the world is asking for these days. You see, sat alongside the masculine paradigm here is a new possibility, and perhaps it becomes actually a blend of both, but there's the possibility of a more feminine paradigm. And that is where, if we look at what would land in this paradigm, it would be things like collaboration, working together, community, humility, authenticity. These are values which traditionally, and according to a lot of research, are associated with femininity. Now, I'm not saying here that it's one or the other, but if we look at the kind of world we live in right now, it's one that celebrates these values. If we want to shift things, we need to step into a world that has equal space for these values, for feminine values as well. So if you want to succeed in a man's world, you have to start operating from a new paradigm in every behavioral choice that you make. So for instance, rather than trying to just do it all by yourself, what would the courage to collaborate look like? How would it be to ask for help and support and work with and through others? Rather than looking at achievement at all costs, what would the courage to enjoy the journey and learn along the way look like? Rather than that ego-driven power over kind of scenario that we see so much in life, what would it look like to lead powerfully from humility and authenticity? We're starting to see more and more brilliant examples of this out there in the world. I highly recommend you look at the work of Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister, for instance, as a great example of this new paradigm leadership. It's not that she isn't, powerfully holding her own and looking to succeed and achieve for her country, but not at all costs, right? It's embraced in a new paradigm kind of approach. So to succeed in a man's world, the first thing you've got to do is own the fact that it is a man's world. We have to acknowledge that. Not to make men wrong, because that won't help to shift things. But for us as women, we need to bring our natural strengths and talents, our kind of desire to want to collaborate, our desire for authenticity, humility, and so forth, and our lack of biological drive to compete. You know, it's a real strength for us as women not having testosterone, right? We don't have this biological urge to have to win, which is so much there in the male of our species, and in fact the male of all species. Let's harness that, let's open that, and let's hold the space for leadership from that place. Imagine how we could change the world. So I'm interested in your thoughts. Do you agree that it is a man's world? Has that impacted you personally? What do you think about this masculinity, femininity thing? Does that trigger all of your buttons, or does it kind of resonate with you? And what do you think is necessary for us to shift from the old paradigm way to a new paradigm way of leading inside of organizations, inside of our communities, inside of our homes? What would real partnership look like? And who do you think we need to become to get there? Please do share all of your thoughts with me in the comments section. And if this has resonated with you, share this video with a friend. We'd love to have them as part of our community too. Click like if you'd like to hear more, but most importantly, let me know what you think.